Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Run and Bun Hardcore Nuzlocke series. This is part 3, and today we'll be going over not a lot of trainers, just the ones on the way between Rustboro City Gym and Mauville Gym, including rival Chelle, and then a couple battles I picked out on the route between Verdant Turf and Mauville City that I think could give you some trouble. First, wanted to quickly just showcase my Togedemaru encounter that I found here. Kind of a throwback to video 1 where I said I was searching for honey for this. Unfortunately, we don't get it. And I'll take a quick moment to go ahead and show a quick box update. So besides the new Togedemaru, nothing too crazy going on. I think I got one of the worst sieges of all time with a really low defense and special attack, IV. Kingler has been pretty interesting. It's sheer force, but it is a minus attack nature, so that's not too great. And then the Nidoran hasn't really helped us out much at all. As I mentioned in the comment in my last video, the Togedemaru we got is bold, which is, of course, not great. Minus attack nature with only 3 attack IVs is pretty bad, but honestly, the rest of it's pretty great. In this ROM hack, you pretty much learn to take what you can get, and you learn to be pretty okay with the encounters that you get. You got to make do. It's also quick feet, which I don't think always happens, but in this case, Togedemaru, when it evolves into Ursaring, gets on Nerve instead of Guts. So yeah, nothing too crazy here. Just wanted to give a quick update, show y'all where we're at. So the first fight I wanted to showcase on this route is against this breeder guy right down here below me. Kind of an interesting trainer tag, but I can show you pretty much my plan going into this. So he leads off with an Intimidate Arcanine. It can burn with Flare Blitz or Will-O-Wisp, so I decided to pre-poison my Dreadnought in order to prevent that from happening. I calced after Intimidate, I can outspeed after 1 Rock Tomb and still take it out with Rock Tomb into Rock Slide while still having enough HP to bait in the Lucario. Here, just going to quickly calculate exactly what it's going for. I'm pretty sure it should just be Aura Sphere, so not really sure what's taking me too long, but pretty easy plan here. Just swap into Acrobatics to take that Aura Sphere. No physical contact, so no chance of burn, plus this Lucario is fully special, so just a quick little Flame Charge, and then I tank a crit Shadow Ball, which is totally fine. I was always never dead to a crit there, as you saw. Out comes Furfrou, probably my most hated foe, and I'm pausing here, again, just to quickly calculate how it's going to try to kill me. So let's see what I switch out into. I think my original plan was to go into Sarina. Nothing kills it, but just wanted to be sure. And still calculating, beep boop, and determine that workup with the Intimidate is the best plan. Attack drop sucks, but it's cool. I get a quick little baby doll eyes, and then my plan is to just use Secret Power from there. Hope for status, which I get turn 1, which is really good. Thankfully, no crits from that guy. And then I can go into Gust for some Hidden Power Fightings, which looks to be about a 3 or 4 hit KO. I think here I just go for Paraflinch, end up getting it, and then a Hyper Force takes it out. That always baits in Manectric for an electric move, and here's where Donphan really shines. This Manectric can't really touch it for much, and then a Bulldoze just cleanly KOs, and then I chain kill the Manectric into the Boltund. So I made this fight look fairly easy, but trust me, I have lost my fair share of mons to this guy in the past, and so having the Donphan is really quite clutch here, and we can Ice Shard once it's down to its Focus Sash. Next up here, we clear out a couple of really quite frankly, easy fights. There are a couple strange gimmicks, but the next fight I really wanted to cover was the Discharge double battle. That's pretty notorious for being annoying. I think it's got a really cool gimmick with the Emolga with the Metronome that only spams Discharge, and it can showcase some pretty interesting tech here. So my plan is to fake out and then rock slide the field with Dreadnought, and then tank a Hydro Pump with High Jump Kick, which will then bait 2 attacks into it, allowing Dreadnought to just really easily continue going for rock slides. The Marowak is a little bit of a thorn in Jawlock's side. I think right now it can see a KO into Dreadnought, but it also sees a KO with anything into High Jump Kick, the meta type. So really quickly, I'm looking in the background into what can take any of its moves, plus any of the moves from Lantern as well. Excuse me. Whether it be an Icy Wind or a Discharge, it's probably not going to be anything too good. So just want to switch into Sarina here and then get a cheeky little Razor Shell in on the Marowak. Ended up taking a Brine and a Flamethrower, so that's not optimal, but Sarina's plenty tanky, and Marowak at this point hasn't had any Lightning Rod procs, so from here it's just a quick, easy 1-2 punch, Drop Kick, and Razor Shell to take these guys out. I know they're really tough, but this run ended up being not a big deal. And last but certainly not least on this route is Trainer Chelle. I'll walk through my strategy a little bit, leading off with a modest Manectric that I found to take out the Lapras. Usually any of the Hitmons does well here with Fake Out into either Low Kick or a couple Mach Punches from Hitmonchan will do the trick. And typically that will bait in the demon that is the Togekiss, but let's see what happens. Shockwave here tanks Frost Breath. I've got a Chesto Berry equipped in case it goes for Sing, and I don't end up being able to tank 2 Frost Breaths, so that really sucks. I think the first one was a low roll, second one was a high roll, so that already I'm kind of off an awkward angle here. Just switching to Drop Kick to still bait out the Togekiss, which is what I want to handle next with Luxray. Tank a crit Air Cutter pretty nicely, and then I can Spark here to hope for Paralysis as well as a 2-hit KO. I don't get the para, which really kind of sucks, and then I tank a crit Draining Kiss, and now I'm in another really awkward spot. I think my Fletchinder outspeeds here and tanks Grass Knot really, really nicely, so I can get a free Flame Charge in while also saving Luxray's life. I think probably a safer line was to Nuzzle first, but you know, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Out comes the Rhydon for a rock move. I just switched to Drop Kick, lower its attack. I was thinking it would go for Stealth Rocks, but I'm glad it didn't, because that would have been even more awkward. Just take it out with a couple Drop Kicks, and my trick here is to sweep into a Dreadnought to tank some Last Resorts. Obviously a crit is not great. My go-to here is Salazzle with Encore. It really just locks in the Lopunny into Fake Out, and then you can just kill it after a few turns. But I didn't get that, obviously, since my Salandit died. Whirlpool from the Slowbro really sucks, especially with a crit here. Without that crit, I think Donphan would have totally been fine, and then I get screwed by Quick Draw, Quick Claw, which is a 49% chance for it to move first. Yep, that happens. That's just the nature of the beast. I didn't really have a solid answer into this, so I've got to risk now Dreadnaught's life. But the good news is last is Vespiquen, which Dreadnought outspeeds. That's why I really like this Mon, and I can just take it out with a simple rock move. So yeah, definitely not a clean Chelle fight. I think given the result from turn 2, where I lost my Manectric, I think this was the best outcome I could have hoped for. Obviously, I wish that I didn't lose my Donphan, as it's really good into Wattson, but hey, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, my friends. Next up is the double battle in Wattson's gym that I think can be a little tricky because of the way that the double battle mechanics work. Didn't cover any of the other trainers in here. Let me know if for next time that's something you'd like me to cover, because I have a feeling there's going to be a next run coming up soon. So I just lead High Jump Kick and Toxic Spike the Nidoqueen to fake out the Minun and then hit it with an Earth Power. I thought that probably might have KO'd. That's why I led them, and that's why I'm now scrambling through the calculator to see what exactly went wrong or what's going to happen next. But the good news is I prevented Electric Terrain that turn, and I believe slower than both. So it'll probably be Electric Terrain from the Minun and then an attack from the Plusle. Hidden Power into Nidoqueen, but an Oran Berry keeps us fine. Earth Power and get rid of the Shuka Berry, and then reduce the Minun down to nothing. Here, I am pretty sure Klinklang sees a KO on both, so I'm just going to safely swap out Nidoqueen for something else. After taking about 3 minutes in the calculator that I just had to cut out, I decide to go ahead and Brick Break the Plusle, or nope, the Klinklang, and I'm going to swap out Toxic Spike for a cheeky little Intimidate on both, take a Grass Knot, and then a Steel Beam, which is exactly what I wanted by going into Luxray. Steel Beam eliminates the enemy's health by 50%, and it's a special move, so not actually reduced by Intimidate, but Luxray was my best resistant to that option. Just checking HP numbers here, plugging that into the calculator to determine what this Plusle is going to go for. These double battles are really confusing to me still. I'm definitely still working through my knowledge of them. In fact, if anyone has any pointers, please leave them in the comments below, because I could really use some help. You'll see later on there are a few double battles that really give me trouble and stretch my brain. Tank an Electric Terrain boosted Thunderbolt and then hit a Wild Charge. Luckily, I'm able to live that. And then this should be a guaranteed, probably a Dazzling Gleam here from the Dedenne, because it sees super effective into Medicham, and pretty much a guaranteed KO into the Luxray. The question is, will it go for that, or will it just go for the single target damage down into Luxray? Not that High Jump Kick is really going to do anything here, because it resists all my moves. So I swap into the Roserade, and then Leer swaps out into Trop Kick. Ended up being a Rising Voltage, which definitely would have killed Medicham. So luckily I'm able to tank that with the Technician Roserade that evolved from my Roselia once I arrived into Mauville City. So I'm quickly going to check the calculator here. I believe I end up swapping Absorb into Thunder the Ampharos. Ends up being a really nice pickup from the route above Slateport. And then just a cheeky Trop Kick. For whatever reason, that did like no damage. No, that was a low sweep. It reduced Dedenne's speed, and it is Fairy type, so it resists fighting. So here I'm just going to Seismic Toss for consistent damage, and Trop Kick because it's highest damage. Tank another Rising Voltage that can be really damaging in the Electric Terrain. I think it ends up being some ridiculous base power, like after all the boosts and stab, like 200 something ridiculous. So just switching out to Toxic Spike to dodge that. That was pretty risky if it ended up going for like a spread Dazzling Gleam or something. But you know what they say, riskless fight for the Woat, because I am the worst of all time. Speaking of the Woat, here comes Wattson, one of my least favorite fights. I think it's one of my least favorites just because it requires so much, but I think I found a pretty interesting line here. So I lead Clamp to get a flip turn off. Pretty rare that you see Gorobus, but I didn't need it to turn into Huntail, so that guarantees me flip turn, and then I can dodge a Discharge while breaking Sturdy and swapping into Nidoqueen to take no damage from the Discharge, so pretty clean. My answer into Rotom, since I don't have Hisui Arcanine, is Thunder the Ampharos with Seismic Toss. It's a 3-hit KO, and it really doesn't end up taking too much damage in return from the Rotom. I pause here because I really did not expect the Lantern to come out. I figured it would have been probably the Zera Aura, and so that had me kind of messing up the entire line I cooked up for this fight. So figuring out, do I have time to go for a Confuse Ray? I do. I take a Scald, and this baits probably either Scald or Ice Beam from Lantern at this point. It's Scald, so I swap into Roserade again for a cheeky little Magical Leaf, boosted by Technician, and then the Thunder Wave really sucked. My plan was to chain kill Lantern and Zero Aura with Absorb, so the paralysis here really, really bites. Was not expecting Zero Aura to come out, but in hindsight, it definitely makes sense. It's faster and has the KO here with probably Plasma Fists or Close Combat, so it's pretty risky swap into Toxic Spike, and luckily I end up taking no damage. I love Masquerain here because it baits guaranteed Plasma Fists and gets an Intimidate off. Unfortunately, I lose an item. I think it was either an Oran Berry or a Citrus, but it allows me to cycle in and out between Nidoqueen and Masquerain while baiting the exact move that I want when I want it. So here we've got it down to -2, taking basically no damage from knockoff, and now that it's at -2, I can go into Absorb the Roserade. Big moment here. I tank that Plasma Fist, get a crit Absorb. That's really, really clutch. My plan was to get it to use Close Combat and then 2-hit KO with Absorbs to keep me more topped off, and luckily the paralysis doesn't screw me over. Definitely not riskless here, as Electros comes out and it probably sees a KO with Thunder Punch, so I just figure let me go ahead and get the cleanest switch I can in with Quiver Dance. Unfortunately, he gives his life for the cause, gets it to -1, and I can send out Bubble for some Bubble Beams. Coil is really scary, but Bubble Beam is a 3-hit KO. Thankfully no crit or para. That would have really sucked to lose the starter in that way, but this now guarantees a discharge from Mega Ampharos, and I needed a clean swap here into Toxic Spike in order to get a 2-hit KO with Earth Power. I think there was a roll there for me to not KO, but the Spadef drop guarantees the 2-hit KO, and in a pretty not very clean Wattson fight, take one death there really sucks. Luckily, it's just a Masquerain. It wasn't too good. 17 speed IV is alright, and a pretty decent special attack IV. Most importantly, what really sucks is that's a perfect swap in for a lot of fighting types, so that really bites. Before we close out today, wanted to quickly run through the RIP Sad Face box. Quiver Dance the Masquerain, roll out the Donphan, Shockwave the Manectric, and Venoshock the Salandit. So thank you all so much for watching. Please stay tuned for next time with Norman. It's pretty spicy. Thanks, y'all.